Mr. Speaker, I do rise in support of the agreement, and I think a large part of that is the discussion that's been going on, and the two fine lawyers just had it about the litigation risk here. And I do just want to ask maybe one or two questions of the proponent of the resolution to tease this litigation risk out, because I do think there's a piece of this litigation risk which we've not discussed yet here today, and that is the risk of an injunction. That is the risk that if the Republican budget, as it currently is constituted, were enacted today, which made a change to move to the Medicaid Advantage plan, which may or may not, as the discussion has just been had, be a substantial change, that a retired state employee, or a group, more likely a group of retired state employees, could go into court and could say, this is a substantial change. Judge, I'm requesting a preliminary injunction to bar this from going forward until it's fully litigated in court. And whether we adopted a budget today, next week, or next month, if the judge went in and said, yes, you're right, retired state employees, there is a risk of irreparable harm if this were to go forward to you, you do have at least a likelihood or a probability of success on the merits as a result of it. So I am going to bar you from putting into place the Medicaid Advantage plan as of January 1, 2018, as is proposed in almost every budget in this building right now. That would immediately blow a $250 million hole in any budget we pass, and we would be right back in here to pass a deficit mitigation plan just based on that injunction. So through you, Mr. Speaker, I just asked the proponent of the bill whether, as he's discussing litigation risk and the risks associated with making some of these changes without going through the collective bargaining process, whether that is a risk that he's considered as well.
Representative D'Agostino.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. That's an excellent point. I hadn't considered actually the injunctive relief risk, the ability to go into court and get that relief right away to enjoin that. And of course, in the context of what we've been discussing, that means that the $200 million in savings for Medicare Advantage booked in the biennium evaporate. So that's an excellent point that they, and obviously their case is much stronger, for example, on that Medicare Advantage point, because that's a change to the existing SEBAC that has not expired. So I think a judge would easily find a likelihood of success on the merits, arguably find irreparable harm. That's a significant risk, and again, one that the state would bear if we did the change unilaterally.
Representative Stafstrom.
So through you, Mr. Speaker, in that instance, it actually would create a bigger issue for the state of Connecticut's current year budget than even, say, the Rowland deal that's been discussed and the Rowland decision that's been discussed here today, where years after the fact, the court came back and said, we're awarding $100 million, and that's going to be paid out over a certain period of time. This would be money in the current fiscal year that we had budgeted for, savings we had budgeted for, that would not be achieved in the current fiscal year. Through you.
Representative D'Agostino.
Yes.
Representative Stafstrom.
And through you, Mr. Speaker, just to get this on the record, I believe the representative alluded to this, but certainly the litigation risk here is higher with the Medicaid Advantage piece to this. But you could have the same risk with the wage freeze as well, where the current contracts, which were a 3% raise, that could be carried out through as well. You could have current state employees apply for an injunction to keep those raises and achieve those 3% raises moving forward, while, again, that issue was litigated in court, to the extent you were to unilaterally make wage and hour decisions without the benefit of collective bargaining. Through you.
Representative D'Agostino.
Excellent point. Absolutely, that's obviously a risk.
Representative Stafstrom.
Nothing further. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.